Okay, talking about academic words. The definition, a word used in educational settings more than in conversation, often a more precise word in place of a more common word. So, for example, academic words like analysis and justify are common in an educational setting. Remember, academic describes schools or education, and an academy, such as Inside Academy, is a type of school. So, academic, like school words. Then we have domain-specific words. The definition is a word having to do with a specific field of activity or study. So, for example, meter, rhyme scheme, and figurative language are domain-specific words related to poetry. Remember, a domain sometimes refers to an area of land such as the king's domain. It can also refer to a specific subject or topic. So here we have some examples. We have common words on the left with academic on the right. You can see the difference. Look at the angle of the lever versus observe the angle of the lever. Tell an anecdote from your life versus narrate an anecdote from your life. Figure out the distance between two cities versus calculate the distance between the two cities. So when is it better to use academic words rather than common words, and why? Often in a school or formal setting, we really strive for those academic vocabulary words. Okay, when is it better to use common words than academic words, and why? Perhaps in more informal situations with a more general audience, with anyone who might not be familiar with some of the academic words, that would be more appropriate. And you can consider which kind of word is more informative about its topic, an academic word or a common word, and why. Hopefully you came up with the idea that an academic word is more informative because it is more specific. We also want to look at context clues, which may explain or restate the meaning of an unfamiliar word, compare and contrast an unfamiliar word with something that is more familiar, give one or more examples of an unfamiliar word in action, and define an unfamiliar word explicitly. So here we have a reading passage. We're going to use context clues. Okay, and looking ahead here, it says this sentence compares and contrasts numismatists with another type of collector to suggest what each collects. So using context clues to figure out words we don't know. Numismatists and philatelists are alike in their passion for collecting, although while philatelists collect tiny pieces of paper that get stuck onto envelopes, numismatists prefer little clinking pieces of metal. So this sentence offers an explanation of what a numismatist does. Uncle Alfie's hobby as a numismatist has taken him to coin shops all over the world in a search for rare additions to his collection. So we may be starting to get an idea of what is a numismatist or what do they collect based off these context clues. Okay. Dimes from the Civil War era, British shilling pieces from the early 20th century, even an ancient Roman coin of stamped silver. These and more were in the collection of Uncle Alfie, the numismatist. So this sentence provides examples of the items in a numismatist collection. Uncle Alfie is a lifelong numismatist, a collector of coins. So we are getting the idea on an unfamiliar word using those context clues. So context clues tell us the meaning. So we have here read or read, right? I read the paper yesterday. Students read in class daily. We're using the words around us in that sentence, the time, when something happened, etc., how often it happens, to know whether we should say read or read, right? I read the paper yesterday doesn't sound right to us, right? So you are using context clues just to determine lots of meaning of words in English. Wound and wound. The nurse wound the wound, right? We know which one is a verb, which one is a noun. using those context clues, for example.